Well, hey, welcome back to the 99 for the show before the show, where I like to check and make sure everything is working. I'm your host, Patrick. How are you guys? We're obviously going to take a few minutes for people to storm in. This is starting a little bit later than I would normally want, and we'll see how this time frame works. I'm always open to trying new times for the live streams, and I'm curious as to how this one will function this late. I'm generally more available in the evenings though, so maybe this is better for everyone. Now, I've been tweaking with the audio, so let me know if the audio is in sync with my voice. We're back to using a boomed, you want to see it? Microphone above my head. So it should have a better, crisper tone to it, but it might be a little out of sync. We'll see. But all right, how are you guys? Good day, all. Hey, Dual Commander. And hey, Necrofiend. Hello there. How are you guys doing? This was a fun day. I've been, this whole week has been super, super hectic. Initially, I was going to pre-record this, but I thought it would be fun to handle this like I do typical set reviews on the channel, which are live, and this way we can sort of discuss new cards that have come out. And since this Secret Lair came out with mechanically unique cards, we can talk about that a little bit if you want. I thought it would be a fun way to uncover them and obviously work through different strategies for these forever friends, these friends forever that came out in this set, and obviously talk about general pairings and such. We could also just look at the October drops if you guys want to chill and talk about them with me. I'd have a blast doing that, but this week has been absurd. After this, I need to edit some for this group I'm working with. And before this, I had the boys over for a Brew Wars. So enjoy that. It was fun. We drank a lot. So I'm surprised I'm okay. And I've got a Save the Robots with me IPA right now. So if you want to drink along with me, you may. But let me go ahead and pull everything up and make sure we got everything going. Hey there, sexy thing. Very out of sync, you say. Very out of sync. Is my voice coming before my movement? How is it out of sync? Let me know. Hey there, sexy thing. There's a cursor on your face. Yeah, I was fooling with the camera. You can, for some reason, this doesn't let clean lines of audio out, but it ultimately just goes away. Out of money for Magic. It's been the past 5 months since I spent money on Magic. That is impressive. I wish I had that self-restraint. I don't. But let me know how it's out of sync, and of course I'll course correct Zach. If in fact it is out of sync. But let me go here. Pull this up. Yes. Voice is slightly ahead of the movement. Voice is slightly ahead of the movement. Okay, let's look at it together. Tell me, is the voice is slightly ahead of the movement? Tell me, is my voice more in sync with the movement? Is it offset at 90 milliseconds? Yes, voice is like 0.5 seconds before the video. Which is weird. This is the literal opposite problem I had with the same microphone set up a little while ago. I'm not entirely certain as to why. But what I'm ultimately going to do, because I've actually ordered some new audio equipment, it's simply easier to have the microphone connected to the camera, and that way the feed you're receiving, the audio is coming from the same source as the video. And that's sort of how you cheat sync issues, I found is the best. Or you can just trial and error this. But before I had this up the audio 100 milliseconds because my movement was happening before the speech. So super odd. Tell me if this is more in sync though. I tried to pair it before we started and it looks like it's okay. I don't know. Cover your mouth and it should be okay. Right. Yes. I'll just grab my face mask because I should be advocating for that anyways. Wow, I didn't notice until you went full speed talking. How about now? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. Is this fun? Wear a mask. Wear a mask, you fool. Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's still a lot of mask mandates in the New York City area, so I am wearing a mask most of the time. What's up? Not much, man. Did you guys enjoy the recent short? I want to up the number of shorts, but it is quite a bit of work. So hopefully sooner rather than later. We shall see. Still a bit ahead, you say. Still a bit ahead, huh? How about now? It's at a negative 110 milliseconds delayed. The voice. Okay. But no, how are you guys doing? Have you purchased, because I believe these are all acquirable as of this recording. You can actually get the October drop now, if I'm not mistaken. And it's weird because there's a couple of singles, like the art and some of these sets are really cool, but I don't want all of them, and I doubt I'll spend money on any of them. Still a bit ahead, you say. Okay, this is negative 120 milliseconds. Zoom F6 audio recorder with an Octava pencil cardioid condenser microphone about a foot away from my mouth using a Lynx Pro cable that is roughly 10 feet in length. I'm imagining that the length of this cable has something to do with the sync issues. I imagine, but I'm no audio technician. I've been enjoying the design of the Innistrad cards. I just got into Magic and I wanted to make a werewolf deck, but I don't know what the right ratio is, and my friend was playing with a Death Touch deck. A Death Touch deck. That's no good for your werewolves. Yeah, and also, guys, during this show before the show, you're more than welcome to ask me any questions. I'm assuming you went with Tovalar for your werewolf commander, which is awesome. And Innistrad Midnight Hunt looked like a really fun set to jump into the game. It was funny, we were just having a conversation earlier about the most recent set to have a large impact on the game of Commander, at least in a competitive setting. And that was definitely Theros Beyond Death. Like Underworld Breach and Thassa's Oracle in the same set, right? And not necessarily fun to start developing lists around because most lists in the meta are warped towards those two cards. And ad nauseum, right? Catalyst, Wincon. Something like Tovalar, though, I think the more the merrier, and you might want to look into changelings, perhaps, if you're just trying to get the draw of Tovalar. Obviously, the go-wide strategy seems to be the thing to do, and you happen to be in Gruul. I don't know if there are any real werewolf synergy combos, but if you're just trying to go wide and do damage, right, it seems like a cool commander to do it. But maybe look into changelings because they've got multiple roles in your list, you know, outside of being wolves and werewolves themselves. And I would actually look into token generators, and there's actually a lot of token generators just for wolves, right? So that way you don't need to cram your list with wolves and werewolves. You can just have things that generate wolves in most instances. I'm not sure there's a werewolf token generator, but I would definitely look into those cards instead. And there's two wolf generators that come to mind. I'm just forgetting their name. Those might be the right avenue of approach. And that way you sort of can focus them, right? If you have a Worldly Tutor, or you have a Sylvan Tutor, or you have Eldritch Evolution, you sort of hit those token generators. And that way you can get the influx of wolves and werewolves you're looking for. The show was great, as someone who mispronounces for fun sometimes. Yeah, it's like, I know people do have speech impediments, and I was not trying to target them with that. And if you were offended, then apologies. I can't win them all. But I had fun doing it. It's funny. We do it jokingly, and sometimes you just don't know how, like, Fairy Macabre. Maybe I should have done Fairy Macrobee, or like, there's just common words that people don't know how to pronounce, and that's okay. But I thought it would be funny for this guy to just do it extremely wrong. Anyway, it did not go well for me. Oh, I see, with the Death Touch deck. About 18 hours until Secret Lair releases. Oh, okay, Jay-Z. Duly noted. Head over to secretlair.wizards blobbity bloop. Okay, I'm gonna head on over there now just to see. Just to see. Yes, the October drops. All of them apparently are on a clock for approximately 18 hours left. Yeah, I'm not certain I'm gonna be going in on any of these outside of maybe the Stranger Things one, because I actually enjoy the show quite a bit. Which was your favorite season of Stranger Things? Let's start there. I have 25 commander decks. Oh my god, all level 9. Level 9. I can't justify any more money on commander decks. Well, at that point, Luis, I feel like you probably have like enough crossover to just, not that it sounds like you wouldn't want to do this, but you want these things individual from each other. But if you really did want to just play a separate legendary or pair of legendaries, probably just take apart some of those decks and put the cards necessary for that deck just to try it out. If your cards are all in the same sleeve, I happen to use the same sleeve for all my decks, so it makes life a lot easier for me. No problem. Agreed. Stranger Things is tight. Season 2 was your favorite? Whoa, okay. By the way, is the audio better now? I'm just curious. This is at a negative 120 milliseconds. And I'm going to bring up Safari here. I want to do this. I'm going to put an official poll. I'm curious as to what was your favorite season? Let me go here. Okay. You have to be on YouTube for this to work, sadly. There's not a great way to run polls via the Streamlabs OBS. And I'm curious, do any of you guys actually watch MTG Arena streams? And what is it you look for? Okay, but which was your favorite season of Stranger Things? And man, personally speaking, I think season 3 was my favorite, and that's rare for me because usually those establishing seasons are the best, most typically. Let's see if this poll goes through though. Audio is just the tiniest bit ahead. Damn it, JC! But Dual Commander, what about season 2 made it your favorite? I'm super curious because I did not like Eleven's story arc in season 2, and as one of the main characters, it was kind of distracting that she went on this huge tangent with a bunch of like miscreant, other special power wielding people, which was never touched on again. And I'm curious as to, is it that side plot that intrigued you? Did you like that avenue of approach? I kind of felt like it was a little too divergent from her and the main cast of Friends. And that kind of bothered me because I would have, right? Like her friends forever. She didn't really hang out with them for a large part of that season. And yet they're her forever friends. And I also want to state that as much as I love Max, I kind of wish we went with someone else in her stead. No offense to Max. I feel like we should have stuck with some of the season 1 characters. As a matter of fact, I would have liked Winona Ryder's character, or Mike's brother, or anyone really. I'm sorry, Will's brother, excuse me. Or Billy. I actually like Billy a lot. Or Steve Harrington. Would have loved him. But let's see here. Another negative 50 bump would be good. Is that what you think, Jay-Z? Here, let me try that. What I'm going to do is set this to negative 140. Okay, let's see how this looks. And I'm just doing this in increments of 10, but let's see if this is better. This seems okay to me. But we'll try this here. But now I'm curious. I'll end the poll right at 6:15, and we can start the show around then too. But basically, the idea of today is to just go over the set with you guys, obviously talk through all of our favorite characters from the show, and see if we can't flush out what the best form of strategy for each individual character is, and obviously discuss pairings, because I definitely want to take a second to make Will the Wise with... I'm thinking it's either going to be Mike or Max. Just going Max is... She's good value, coupled with the fact I'm jumping into it already. A lot of these characters are cool, and we actually take a look at the rest of the Secret Lair too. Again, I'm not advocating you buy for any of this stuff. I am curious, genuinely curious about this. And what's cool about this particular set is the fact that they've stated that New Capenna, I believe New Capenna, it's going to receive mob family versions of these Friends Forever. I'm assuming they're going to rename this. They're not going to call these Friends Forever. I doubt in New Capenna. It's got to be like mob families, I'm assuming. But we're going to see parallels to these characters in New capenna. So if you didn't want to buy this, if you're not a fan of Stranger Things, and I doubt that anyone who's not a fan of Stranger Things is watching this. Oh my God. Okay. I think I only really love the biotech sort of cards, though I'm glad the Stranger Things cards Common New Capenna. Excuse me. Since the setting sounds tight and I wanted to... Yeah, you know, it's like... They're winning on the nostalgia, all the nostalgia points for me, just on the time period it's based on. I grew up around arcades, so like the first season really got me, and I love tabletop games, so obviously being that Dungeons and Dragons was in the show was awesome. And obviously there's like some Lovecraftian horror monster in there, obviously with the... Who we'll talk about, the Mind Flayer. But... It's dope. I really liked all the seasons. I wouldn't say I liked them equally, but I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them equally. I don't like them equally, but I enjoyed them equally. Does that make sense? I actually like the side plot, and you actually like that side plot, and I'm mad it wasn't covered more. They dropped it because I think due to popularity, I would imagine. But I was not the biggest fan of that whole offshoot story for 11, unfortunately. Do you think with the printing of Grizzlebrand he could come off the EDH ban list? I really don't think so, Bradley Williams. I think that he's just too good of a reanimate target, I think, in most settings, particularly casual settings. I think most people are just going to be able to run away with it and do some pretty stupid things, provided you can get him out. Villas is sort of like the go-to reanimate draw legendary now. The draw demon. But Grizzlebrand just requires less steps. It's just not that difficult to wield and utilize well. I doubt it'll come off the ban list, though. Sorry to say. Do you think the printing of Grizzlebrand... No, covered it. I agree, 11's arc was a bit off, but I like the detective horror story of Season 2. Yeah, captive audience is pretty devastating when it comes on the board. Hey, Trent. Now it's more ahead, says Alex. Damn it. Now it's more ahead, you say. You say. How about this? Let's meet in the middle. Let's meet in the middle. Negative 130 milliseconds. Let's just say that is the perfect audio sync pairing, and we'll leave it there. And again, 3 more minutes on this poll. I'm curious, like, what was your favorite season of Stranger Things? And while we're on the topic of this multi-universe thing that MTG is doing, I don't care concerns whether it's good or bad. I enjoy more content. But is anyone excited for Street Fighters? Is that something that we're all on board with? The Chun-Li art, I mean, anyone who's a fan of Street Fighter is probably going to enjoy Chun-Li being in it. And obviously multi-kicker as a thing for her is kind of dope. I grew up playing a lot of fighters. I'm not really sure I'm interested in that particular set. I will probably buy one just because, like, if Ken is there, I'll probably want to play with Ken, most likely. But I'm curious, any of these secret layers, are you excited for the collaborations? And obviously, how many of you guys are going to be picking up Stranger Things? Bless you. Thank you, JD. I've never seen it, to be honest. I watched 1 episode. It's worth it, Bradley. I think it's a fun time. Like, if you just want to relax and it's just casually entertaining. I don't know. Like, I would have it on loosely. I didn't really track it or follow it. I watched it. I didn't binge it, I suppose is what I'm saying. Like, Great British Bake Off, I will dedicate time Friday to watch. Like, that show I thoroughly enjoy. Stranger Things is something I just picked up casually. But it was super fun, and I enjoyed that experience. I would say it's worth watching. I know I had... okay. Yeah, haven't seen a single episode either, Hama Humana. If you have Netflix, it's worth it. It's totally worth it. Better than Squid Game. Hot take, maybe? Squid Game was good. Watch that if you haven't. I mean, again, if you're on Netflix and you haven't, you might as well. You're paying for the service. Or you're borrowing it from a friend or family member, and you should probably watch those shows anyways. I'm very down for Street Fighter. Was there a separate fighting game you would have rather seen placed in the world of MTG? Was there a separate fighting game you were interested in? Would you rather have seen Tekken, Virtua Fighter? Soul Calibur would have maybe fit the theme of MTG just a little bit more. Soul Calibur would have been amazing, though. Oh my God, Cervantes, please. I would have loved that. Or Khalik. Is that how you pronounce his name? Dude with staff. Soul Calibur was my jam growing up. Me and my brothers slammed that game. But I'm going to end this poll now. Gonna see. What season came out on top? I was surprised they went with Street Fighter collab instead of Mortal Kombat. Chun-Li has some potential. Yeah, you think that Mortal Kombat would have been more... It's not as kid-friendly, though, right? Like Stranger Things. It's not as kid-friendly as Stranger Things. Smash Brothers. This would be the biggest secret lair drop. You would have to spend $500 if it was like the whole of the Ultimate roster, plus Street Fighter. I mean, you have Street Fighter characters in Smash, which is awesome. It's funny how in different forms of media people react differently, right? Like, I wasn't upset when Smash Brothers got Solid Snake. I was not upset when Cloud made it to the roster. I was ecstatic, actually. I love Smash. I've been playing since Melee. I still have my copy of Melee up there, actually. But I love Ultimate. I'm always either on Cloud or Sephiroth. But it's funny how people in the world of MTG just get so brutally upset. And it's fine. Like, this is like supplemental product. They have unique effects, but just proxy it if it really bothers you and you're interested in playing these characters. But I'm always excited to see more in the things I enjoy. And if it incorporates other things I enjoy, I'm that much more excited. But Season 1, with 55% of the votes, I think I can agree with that. It was a pretty fantastic season. Although I like Steve's character more in the third season. I think that's probably why I like it more. I really love his character. Smash Brothers, yeah, right. Smash Brothers is like 50 collabs in one. It really is. Witcher, maybe? Witcher would be dope. I don't think it would make its way over, but that would be dope. Wait, is Street Fighter coming to MTG? Trent, you did not know? Duly noted. Wow, you missed out, dude. Yeah, Street Fighter's coming to MTG. They spoiled a few things a little while back. There's a collaborative secret lair drop for Fortnite. It's going to be all reprints from my understanding. So if you're a fan of Fortnite, you can get art from that series in MTG. That's cool. You know, if there's an Imperial Seal with a Fortnite character on it, I'm probably going to buy that. That's okay. And Street Fighter is going to be unique. And I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, when Lord of the Rings makes its way to MTG, it's a whole set. I don't think that's a secret lair drop. But someone can correct me if I'm wrong there. I won't be mad to get legendary Yoshi Dinosaur as a commander. What colors would Yoshi be? Liliana's contract sounds like a cheesy way to win. Could be. All right. No more polls. Dropping Safari. And I think it's time to begin. I'm fairly certain. Okay. Welcome back to the 99, where we're focused on brewing a better competitive commander. I'm your host, Patrick Marlette, and this is a brief overview of Secret Lair X Stranger Things. That's right. Maybe your favorite characters from the world of Stranger Things have made their way into MTG and you want to play them to their best. And today we're going to discuss all of them and see if we can't sort out the best way to command the game of Commander with these new legendaries. I mean, who are we kidding? This is predominantly for us Commander players, so get stoked. But before we jump into the video today, there is a monthly topic to discuss. And for the month of October, if there's one thing you could change about Commander format, what would it be? What would it be? We've gotten so many interesting answers to this one. And on a personal note, I'm kind of fine with how Commander is now. To be perfectly honest, though, I could probably just do away with the ban list entirely. I like having everything accessible. It just means that you need to have more answers to more problems, which can be problematic. But I feel like if Recurring Nightmares was an available strategy, the world of Commander would be less homogenous. I don't know. Maybe I'm dead wrong. But I would love that experience, and I'd love to have a day where we just play unbanned. But for their thoughts on the monthly topic, I'll be turning for Josh Stein. Turning 2, rather. So you said one thing. So how about 3? Going first or second is a huge advantage, and that needs to be addressed. I'm not sure the best way to do it, but one thought is to, one thought, like many board games, is starting resources are adjusted by player order. That seems fair. Also, re-examine the Power 9. I think the Moxen should be unbanned. What? Ancestral Recall and Time Walk can stay on the ban list because blue is already too good on draw and turns, and Black Lotus either way. Lastly, I'm not a fan of the partner mechanic. Make a different way to get access to additional colors or partners should have some sort of extra cost attached to it. So you shouldn't just get the benefit of having a separate partner and or partner with and or friend forever just because a card says you can. It just seems a little too advantageous. And I think I can agree with Josh Stein on many of these points. I think, and it's funny, like re-examining the Power 9, kind of my, not to say he stole my idea, but kind of what I'm saying. Like, I think the ban list can be revised. Again, the more options, the better, generally speaking. Although, for people that have not bought into some of these reserve list cards that are banned, it's tricky, right? Like the Moxen, good luck, really. I couldn't afford it if I wanted to buy any Moxen. But no, going first has a huge advantage. I certainly agree with that. It really depends, though, on what you're doing. Like, imagine going first and, like, the person before you laid down a land, a rock, mana rocks, rituals out into, like, 2 stacks pieces that just stunt your game plan, right? Like, get their Root Maze and Trinity Sphere out. Let's just be as damning as possible. The game would really suck from then on out. Right, so being first really does have its advantage because you just put yourself way ahead of the game if you happen to be lucky, right? Not only on the die roll or the coin flip or however you decided to go first, but also with what your hand might be. And we recorded some Brew Wars today, and as I mentioned earlier, but it just so happens that Alex has the best luck with his opening hands. Like, he always lays down a Soul Ring into a Mana Crypt into a Arcane Signet into a Jeweled Lotus. It's like, how does this happen? And we shuffle his deck and we cut it. But he always just has that advantage. It's crazy. And not to say that always wins games, but I can see where that is problematic in some settings. Anyway, Sora is in Smash. Yes, Sora is. The card game Force of Will has mana deck that would be neat for no flooding. I've only heard of Force of Will. I've never played it. But I think it's time to look at our friends. If we want, we could take a gander at some of this other alternative art. And if you guys want to follow along with me, you may do so by following the link in the description to see the most recent post by Wizards of the Coast regarding all of the Secret Lair drops. Of course, we have Stranger Things up there, but Mirrored Insanity, I can't say I'm a huge fan of these lands, and I'm not really a fan of the Secret Lair lands. The monster anatomy looks dope, but none of these creatures are really appealing to me. It's really hit or miss every time they do these drops. I gotta say, Monster Movie Marathon posters, though, obsessed. This is exactly how I like my art. This is exactly how I want my art served. Like that Dismember, I'll find a list to put it in. Blasphemous Act, I don't own a copy, but I will soon. And Beast Within, Necessary Evil, and Mono Green list. Most Mono Green list. But this Grafdigger's Cage, I'm going to be using that. Oswald Fiddlebender will be using that Grafdigger's Cage. Read the Fine Print. This is the set that was being mentioned of Grizzlebrand reprint. Again, I really don't believe they're going to unban Grizzlebrand for this. If WotC was in control of the ban list, I'm sure they would probably just... I don't know why. I don't know if they want to manage that or what that arrangement is. But it's very doubtful they'll unban Grizzlebrand, sadly. All of these look dope, though. And Eraziketh's reprint was definitely needed because this is one of the best reanimated targets in the game right now. Would Villas have been cool? Sure. I don't think Villas struck a contract with Lily, though, did he? So I'm assuming that's why they chose these demons. And Midnight Hun showcase cards, I'm fine with these. Fine with or without. None of these lands are really particularly good. I know the only one that's generally used is this Kessig Wolf Run, but it's there. So if you wanted it, you can get it, and the art looks amazing. And then other than that, there is a Gravecrawler in this. They threw so many out there. There are so many Secret Lair drops. But the Gravecrawler one, oh God. I'm obsessed with this as well. I love these old like movie theater poster kind of depictions. This Lily looks amazing. This art is just so dope. I wish Lily Death's Majesty was something I cared to play, or Rise of the Dark Realms, but Gravecrawler is certainly something I care to play. This Marilyn Monroe-esque zombie. All over that. But let's move to the main event here, obviously, and let me know what your favorite Secret Lair drops of October are. again, not to advocate for any of this stuff. I mean, it's just a great way for WotC to just rake in money. And maybe that's a good thing. I hope they go on strong because I really love this game. And this is just alternative supplemental product. And they're really banking on, and this is something we've talked about on the show before, but they know that there's a whole market out there for alters, card alters. Like my playgroup in particular, we like getting our cards altered because we're adults and we have disposable income, and this is a hobby we enjoy. So we do that. And WotC's obviously caught on to that fact, and blah, here you go. Direct to consumer. They're literally, you can tell that they're looking at the market of alters and being like, oh shit, people do like movie theater posters. Let's do that. What else do they do? And they're just going crazy, which is awesome. And whether it's your cup of tea or not doesn't matter, because again, it's all just supplemental product, which is really, really cool. Except for the stuff that's mechanically unique. So here's Secret Lair, Stranger Things. And unlike The Walking Dead, and I own the Walking Dead cards, I enjoyed that series. I kind of wish, Shane. I wish Shane was printed as a playable character, but que sera. Yeah, unlike that set, where they didn't specifically state that the cards would be coming out in a future set and which set that would be, apparently these are coming out in New Capenna. So if you didn't want to buy this, you just wait till then. Like if you don't care about 11, it's odd that the theme of 11 is going to be a part of another card in a different set, right? Because obviously they built these mechanics around these characters to some extent. Like I don't know if Dustin's card really makes total sense, but thematically, Jim Hopper's does though. So let's go ahead and just go through this list in the order they have them placed. And what I'll do is just pitch a card, and obviously we can discuss it together and get some thoughts out before we move to the next one. And there are a handful to discuss, but let's start with the new mechanic first. After I'm done reading over the card, I'll turn to you guys and we have a chat. So, Chief Jim Hopper for 2 generic and Boros, legendary creature, human soldier, 4/4 body, menace. Track the rod, see how far it goes. Friends forever. You can have 2 commanders if both have friends forever. So it's not quite partners, but it's a more expansive partners with, essentially, right? So anything that says friends forever, you can have them both in the command zone. So 11, Jim Hopper, if that's something you want to do, you can do it. Whenever Jim Hopper attacks, investigate once for each non-token attacking creature. So you at least have 2 creatures that can attack, right, in this deck. Jim and anyone he's friends with. So all the kids. I guess 11. If you want to play on theme, you're probably going to have him paired with 11, right? That's not so bad. And if you guys don't know what investigating is, it provides you a clue. I guess we should look at clues because this thing is kind of important. And of course, the clue itself is the Christmas tree lights and the letters on the wall from the show. So this is really cool thematically. But a clue is an artifact token that you can pay to sacrifice and draw a card from, right? So really cool way to gain advantage. That's not as good as, say, having a Timna swing with other creatures, right? Like this isn't as good because you need to pay mana. But what's cool about it is it's also providing you an artifact, and these artifacts can be useful, especially if you're using something like a grinding station in this build. These artifacts give you a couple triggers on the grinding station, and if you have an Underworld Breach in your hand or some sort of strategy that cares about your grave being filled up, you can just chuck these clues to mill yourself 3 cards. In this, again, particular instance, would be using grinding station. But Jim Hopper himself, human soldier, I think he's fine. He's not the most exciting to me. I think the 4 CMC is a little rough, but it's good that you can do this on curve with other creatures that are a lesser CMC. So you'll obviously have creatures to attack with Jim when he can ultimately swing. The unfortunate bit is, unlike a Timna, as I've mentioned already, Timna just cares that opponents were dealt damage. It doesn't need to be by her. So you can cast Timna into a board that have creatures that aren't summoning sick, where Jim needs to be attacking alongside his friends forever or any other creature you might have in your list, right? So is this the best of these new legendaries? No, but it's decent value. And again, it also has menace, so you can get in there and do some damage. But what's cool is that it provides you Boros, and all of these legendaries are of dual colors. So you're going to get at least 2 colors on the decision of playing that legendary. So Jim is good for that instance. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts, obviously, on Jim. Are there any strategies you're building around Jim? Is there any deck you're building for Jim? And what your pairing is for Jim, right? And of course, we can discuss pairings once we're done here, covering all these single cards. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts on these. I think non-token was the thing keeping this from being easily breakable. Yeah, yes and no, because it's easy to generate a mess of tokens, particularly in white. That's just something you do. But red also has amazing token generation, right? Particularly goblins. So the fact that Jim can't leverage those really makes it super fair. And I think that they're trying not to repeat the mistake of Commander 2016, right? I believe Commander 2016, Thrasios, Tymna, Crom, all that nonsense, where it was just pure value and 2 colors, right? They're trying to avoid that, which I understand, but those things exist already. So when you hamper new legendaries or just new cards in general, you're not providing a balanced play experience because these things still exist and are still legal. So you need to at least match the quality of these previously, minted cards. And Tymna, I'm going to keep referencing because that's kind of the one-to-one here. Tymna's 1 less mana, obviously not as stocky, nor does she have menace, but Tymna does more on the cast than Jim does because Jim needs to be around to even swing, right? So if you have Lightning Greaves or some sort of haste enabling set up with this, maybe you use this with Max, and Max has Concordant Crossroads, or you have Mass Hysteria in this list. Mass Hysteria makes it so that every creature has haste. Well, then you can start doing things with Jim immediately. But then again, you're also relying on another card to do that, where Tymna doesn't really care, right? So it's tricky. It's tricky. To be honest, the night version of cards look really bad on camera. Oh, damn. Well, hopefully they look better in person. Beast Within, bro. And Monster Anatomy. Hamahimana, are you interested in buying Monster Anatomy? I'm not going to rate these or rank these. I think that's silly. I think if you wanted to play Jim Hopper, you should, especially if you enjoyed the show and you enjoy his character. May he rest in peace. Spoiler. Jim's there for you. I think he's okay. I think there's better things to do. But let's talk about Dustin, the gadget genius. Another 4CM seer. A lot of the other kids are less mana. These 3 at the top are all 4. I'm pretty sure that they're the only ones that are 4. And I'm not including, obviously, the villain character here. But Dustin, gadget genius. 2 generic, Azorius, legendary creature human, 2/3 body, which is actually a good defense, generally speaking. That's usually enough to block most things. Tap. Add 2 generic. There's a caveat. Spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. I think for 4CMC, this is too much. Put that out there. That is too much. That is too much mana to generate 2 generic for solely artifacts. But what I do like about Dustin is that it leads you a certain direction. Like, this is telling you that the list that this friend is a part of is going to care about artifacts. And what's nice is that, again, like I'll use Max as an example again, because Max would be a cool pairing with Dustin. If you happen to use Max and Dustin, she's giving you a really good color array, but not to mention the fact that you can also rely on her, the fact that she provides you green. Because the first thing that came to mind with Dustin, at least for me, is Isochron Scepter, right? Isochron Scepter is a great utility. It's been a combo card for many years, but Isochron Scepter specifically with Dramatic Reversal, right? And Dramatic Reversal makes it so you untap all your non-land permanents, and you can stick Dramatic Reversal on Isochron Scepter. And if you were to use Isochron Scepter, to cast Dramatic Reversal, it untaps Isochron Scepter. You kind of get where I'm going here. Dustin himself will also untap. If you happen to have Max, any of your dorks are going to provide you additional mana. Any of your rocks that you put on the field because of Dustin, because Dustin by himself can cast an Arcane Signet, is going to produce positive mana. You still need an outlet with all of this, right? But at least that's a strategy you can play for. I think that's probably going to be a common goal of a Dustin list, is probably to have Isochron Scepter, Dramatic Reversal, whether it be with Max or anyone else. I think that's probably the avenue of approach that makes the most sense for Dustin. Although I will say it again, I think the CMC on Dustin is just a little too high. I'm not sure why they made him this high. Again, in particular because of what other partners are. Even the single colored partners, like Tevesh makes sense at 5 because Tevesh is extremely good. Do I think that this is warranted as a 4 CMC commander? Not necessarily. If only because he provides 2 colors, then I can see the justification, but this ability itself is not really warranting this cost. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I think he's cool, but honestly, I'm just happy to be here. Michael. Glad. This plus Academy Manufacturer seems okay, depending on how many creatures you have, I guess. I don't know what Academy Manufacturer does, but I believe you. It's funny, I didn't actually think there'd be spoilers here. Obviously, I miscalculated. Yeah, I mean, spoilers in the sense that we're looking over some cards that were recently released, but that's it. Obviously, I'm hoping that this overview can help you steer these partners in the right direction. But yeah, Academy Manufacturer with Jim sounds sweet. Okay, you guys are asking for it. You guys are asking for it. This is something I like to do, obviously, when we do these live stream reviews. It's nice to just go over the cards we're discussing, obviously. And this way we can sort of parse together, again, the best way to accommodate these new legendaries. But, oh my god, no, I don't want to buy the card. Okay, Academy Manufacturer, but if you guys want to buy the cards, use the link in the description. Blah. Help Papa make some cash. 3 generic, if you would create a clue, food or treasure token, instead create 1 of each. Ah, that's pretty gas. And if you're using Dustin, you can cast Academy Manufacturer that much easier. So, in these mass token builds, and of course, Academy Manufacturer can be swinging alongside your gym, and you can generate even more of everything. Obviously, this is a pretty grand utility. I think the treasure token coupled with the clue is the best part. The food is just another artifact. You generally don't need the life gain. However, if you're on a strategy that incorporates ad nauseum, then maybe the food will be of relevance. But I think the fact that it's just another artifact is probably good enough. Academy Manufacturer is definitely one that's been slept on, though. It's a very cool card. And good suggestion, by the way. Let me see here. I mean, if you compare it to Kaidel, it's pretty unexciting. Yeah, kind of, right? And Kaidel is the Simic partner. And by the way, Kaidel is, no offense if you use Kaidel, she's never used, generally speaking. Chosen of Crewfix. So awesome art, looks like a cool card. You can add a generic to your mana pool for each card you've drawn this turn. Again, this counts the card you've drawn off the top, right? So you have your draw step, it'll count that. So Kaidel is always able to give you mana, but she's not really used, right? That is definitely the 1-to-1 though. So Dustin, Kaidel. Dustin does do a little bit more just buy and buy, but only if you care about artifacts. And in that, not the best. We might be ready to move on, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Anything else you want to talk about on Dustin or Jim before we move on, and then we can discuss pairings once we've covered all of them. 4 mana for a mana rock with restrictions on a body is too much in my opinion. Yeah. Is 11 Mike for 2 commanders with 5 colors good? It sounds really good. Like, just put them... we can obviously talk about that. And I think that the obvious reason they paired Mike with 11 in such a way is to do that, right? To have a 5 color setup with the 2 that are romantically tied. They like each other. They're kids. They like each other, okay? He's got a crush on the bald girl, okay? You should watch the show if you've not watched it. This is specifically addressed to one of our viewers right now. But no, we can talk about that in just a second. Frage. I'm a biomedical scientist, and Gista was my first EDH deck. So yeah, Monster Anatomy strikes all chords for me. That sounds dope. Just spitballing here. 5-color Thoracle list and go to town. So, I mean, the thing is, you can use any 5-color deck to accommodate a Thassa's Oracle win. As a matter of fact, even mono blue list use Thassa's Oracle. So it's not really a big mystery. if you want to do that with 11 and Mike, you certainly can. Although I think Mike is a unique combo commander, and we'll get to him when we get to him. But yes, you can certainly do that. Stranger Things spoilers, I managed to avoid. Oh, Keto, I am sorry. The show's been out for a long time, but apologies. You should certainly watch it still. Keto, why didn't you just watch it? Don't you have Netflix? I'm adding the inflection I see. Not often to make you feel bad. I live under a rock. Not your fault. Okay, thank you. All right, I think we're ready to move on because 11 plus Mike equals rainbows. We've got a Grixis commander out of 11. I think 11 actually fits that sort of flavor. So I think Grixis was a good choice. Kudos to you, R&D. And obviously, everyone behind this card and this set. I think this is a really cool theme. 11 gives you a maximum hand size of, guess what? 11. She's a human wizard, 3/5 body. I didn't even notice they called her a wizard, but that totally makes sense. I wonder if any of them else have subtypes. Anyway, she's a wizard. You're a wizard, 11. She's a wizard? You can wizard cycle her, I guess, if she's not in the 99. Or if she is in the 99. 3/5 body. Whenever 11 the mage attacks, you draw a card and lose a life. What? She is a do-nothing when she hits, much like Jim Hopper. But when she does get to attack, you get to draw a card and lose a life. So that's not so bad. Then if you have 11 or more cards in your hand, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. This is a really cool way to cheat value. And again, depending on who you pair 11 with, let's just say Mike in this instance, you have all of MTG at your disposal. So obviously you want to have 11 or more cards, right? That's not an easy thing to accomplish, but it is something you can do. So obviously a lot of synergy to put card in your hand is a good thing with 11 because you want to cheat the cost of these spells. I think that's kind of secondary to the fact that 11 is just a good card draw utility and puts you in Grixis, which is probably the best 3-color pairing in the game right now. Blue, all of the countermeasures, card quality effects, wheels, just staple cards that exist in blue. Black, tutors. Ad nauseum. Necropotence. Animate strategies. Cool. And then red, Underworld Breach. And Dockside. I don't play Dockside personally. A lot of people are hooked on that card. It's like a drug to them. You just get it all, right? Just 11. Never mind the fact that you can pair her with someone else. So is 11 good? Yeah, she's probably one of the better ones, just by virtue of her color pairing. She's one of the better ones. And the fact that she's a draw utility on top of that is really cool. And not an investigate, like she's not interested in finding Will. She's not trying to look for clues. She's like, no, she didn't give a shit about any of that. She's just going to give you value. That's really cool. And that's where she kind of gets an edge over Jim Hopper here because Jim needs to pay mana for these clues. She's just going to put cards in your hand, bro. So yeah, 11 is really good. And obviously, depending on how you pair her, the strategy is all going to be the same. Because as mentioned, Thassa's Oracle, if you are playing in a competitive setting, Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation, blue, black. You've already got it all covered. Brain Freeze with Underworld Breach, right? So if you don't know what these storm lists look like, and I assume you do because you are watching this channel, but this is a literal storm card that self-mills. And then what you would do with Underworld Breach is just use this, any sort of mana generation, generally speaking on the Lion's Eye Diamond, and then you find yourself with a completely milled deck and a Thassa's Oracle to cast from Underworld Breach, right? Grixis is just very good at doing the thing that Thassa's Oracle wants to do, and it utilizes 2 of the best cards in the game right now that came from the same set, right? We talked about this at the beginning. Thassa's Oracle, Underworld Breach. So yes, 11 is good. I think that's the general strategy. She's just a value mander that puts you in Grixis, and she's a partner, so that's pretty absurd. Obviously, if you put yourself in 5 colors, you are just tribal good stuff. You just get to play with the best cards for Thassa's Oracle strategy. It doesn't really require much of us to figure out what to do with 11, so I'm not going to dwell on her much longer, although I will definitely hear your thoughts on 11. Do you think that thematically she fits her role in the show? Moreover, is this a good Grixis commander? Because obviously she's pretty darn okay, right? But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Jim Hopper, keep the door open. I do like 5-color pairing. Timmy, saving for a rainy day. Definitely. Well, next time it rains, Keto, check it out. 11 plus Harmonic Prodigy. Oh god. Yeah, this thing, the red one. Okay. If an ability of a shaman or another wizard you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. That is pretty dope, actually. It's so funny. I've been wanting to leverage Harmonic Prodigy. This is sort of one of the slept-on rares from Modern Horizons 2. Yes, that is a good combo for 11. I mean, not that she needs more value. It's like she's very good. But you have a maximum hand size of 11, so you might as well get there, right? A good suggestion, though. I like Harmonic Prodigy quite a bit. I need my weekly injection of Dockside. Thanks for the reminder. Dockside, oh, so good. All the treasures. Wait, there's only one enchantment and one artifact? Shit happens. But even still, you paid for yourself. That's cool, Dockside. Just wondering, why no Dockside? Is there a weakness that you don't like about it? Or is it pride? It's funny. I mean, I run a deck that is, the only list that I think would make sense for Dockside is a Reality Scramble list. So it's only really trying to hit the core creature, right? So Dockside there makes no sense. But I generally don't like relying on strategies that rely on my opponents, because there will be that one game where you're hoping for value and Dockside just doesn't do it. And there's certainly been games where, and I have 2 Docksides. I just don't run them in any list. That kind of reliance on my opponents is a weakness. In most settings, though, yes, like 9 out of 10 times, like Dockside on turn 3 is going to generate like at least 4 to 5 mana, right? And that's okay. And this is obviously not barring in mind any sort of stacks you might be facing. Maybe there is a Blind Obedience or there is a Root Maze or something that's stunting you, right? So is Dockside always the best? If you like color fixing and you like producing a lot of mana for little to no effort on your part, then Dockside is really cool. But I think people have an over-reliance on Dockside, and it is their folly. Like, I stopped one earlier with a Hushbringer because my list doesn't give a shit. And obviously Hushbringer is good for things like Thassa's Oracle and stuff like that too. It really depends on how you play and what you care about. And personally, I find I would rather have a list that is just strong, independent of anything that's happening on the board that is outside of my own control. There are too many variables in this game for me to want to rely on my opponents. Do I still use Dockside? Yes. I just don't prioritize it as much as other players. All right. I hope that answered your question. The girl from Innistrad that cares about 13 cards in Hando could be a win con. Yes. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Thank you. Thank you for that suggestion, or how to write it, because I would look it up. I feel like you could switch Nekusar for 11 in that type of deck. Probably, yeah. Harmonic Prodigy is busted in Krark's Akashima list. That sounds, yes, I bet it would be. It's funny because I have never used Harmonic Prodigy, but I love that it's actually utilized by you guys. So thank you for the suggestions. And again, feel free to make any suggestions for any of these legendaries. Obviously, we're trying to make a better version, as we normally do on the channel, of any of these partner pairings. But Lucas, the sharpshooter, best art, easily. All right, 1/3 body, human. It just puts you in Izzet for Izzet. This is great. Like, if you just want to be in these colors, Lucas is great for this. Do I think the effect is great? Tap, sacrifice an artifact. Lucas Sharpshooter deals 1 damage to target creature. Goad that creature. Now, in a lot of situations, you're probably just going to hit the Dark Confidant to kill the Dark Confidant. You'll just hit the dork to kill the dork. Or this could be the thing that puts that creature over the edge, and you happen to be in Izzet. So you can Pyroclasm, 2 damage to each creature. Oh, our boy's a 1/3. Ping that thing, and it's dead. Now, the goad aspect is really nice if you've, well, I got the reminder text is here, right? Until your next turn, that creature attacks each combat if able and attacks a player other than you if able. So obviously you wouldn't put this on the creature that has an effect that causes it to tap, right? Because that wouldn't be of much use. They're able to undo the goad. But it's good. It's like if you were playing it like, I don't know, maybe you use Lucas 11, I don't know. But if you happen to do that, then at least you can point the Crom or a very valid threat of like any sort of reanimate target. Maybe someone has a Linvala on the battlefield and someone reanimated a Razaketh, but you are the likely target because you use life as a resource. You can use Lucas to deter any of this. And by deter, I mean get that thing to swing. Get that thing to swing somewhere else. I felt like I was Mike Wazowski there for a second. Monsters, Inc. I would enjoy that in MTG. Call me crazy. I love Monsters, Inc. Anyways, Lucas is fine. I think for 2 mana, 1/3, those are good stats. This is a decent blocker on the field. It puts you in the color of the best commander cards, right? For your Fierce Guardianship, for your Deflecting Swat. You just get those. Obviously, again, I already discussed a combo with 11 here. It gives you the Brain Freeze. It gives you Underworld Breach. There's a reason Izzet Storm list exists. This is a very good part of the color pie to be in to do Storm strategies. And again, Underworld Breach itself, like this is enough reason for me to say that Lucas is good. Just the color that this puts you in. And the ability itself is not bad. Do bear in mind, you need to sacrifice artifacts. A lot of these, as you'll find, Friends Forever produce clues. So clues are artifacts. You have that utility, provided you don't need the draw. In most cases, you're probably going to want to draw. I don't say that Lucas is really high up on my list. You probably just want to roll with 11 anyways, right? She just gives you all of that and black, which is definitely a bag of chips worth of all the tutors in the world. Like, you're in Grixis. You're in Grixis and then choose something else. Too easy. Too easy. I'm not doing that. But yeah, Lucas, anything that I'm missing, anything that you would incorporate with Lucas, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with our boy? Got his girlfriend right here. Or friend. I don't know. Didn't they end? Like, didn't they have a moment at homecoming or something? God, Keto, I'm so sorry. Okay. Monsters, Inc.? Yes. I would love it. Put that thing back where it came from. Also help me. I would love that. that thing could be an artifact in the game. I don't know. Togo would work well with Lucas. You are correct. Is he a friend forever? Maybe we can make him one. This not being able to go in to the dome is another way of WotC playing it safe, in my opinion. Yeah. The fact that you couldn't use Lucas as an outlet, like you can't just instead of any target, the fact that it has to be a creature, kind of annoying. I think thematically though, and we didn't touch on that with Lucas. I think thematically that makes sense, right? For Lucas at least. I mean, they're all fighting monsters in this world. If you haven't watched Stranger Things yet, that's essentially what Lucas is doing here with a slingshot. So I understand it thematically. It would have been nice if this could be targeted at any target. I agree. I certainly agree there. Let me see here. But yeah, very fun casual battlecruiser commander though. I agree with you. I think that's probably what it's going to lean towards. Goat is pretty good for making people swing that with creatures they don't want to, giving others a chance to kill with blocks or something. Okay. You can also do weird combo dealing damage to Brash Taunter and then deflecting into players, right? So there are other like Stuffy Doll. There's a couple of creatures that sort of behave in this way, and there's even a enchantment that gives I think it's a Guilty Conscience. When enchanted creature deals damage, Guilty Conscience. No, not this one. There are combos with Guilty. We don't need to look at that. But Brash Taunter to cover the card you were discussing. Indestructible, whenever Brash Taunter is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target opponent, right? And it's indestructible, so no amount of damage will kill it. And then obviously something like Guilty Conscience, pretty good. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage, Guilty Conscience deals that much damage to enchanted creature. So you could set up loops with Guilty Conscience on things that deal damage to opponents, namely Brash Taunter and or the Stuffy Doll, I think is the other one that operates this way. Stuffy Doll, oh my god. Dustin, we need you. Stuffy Doll. Indestructible, you choose a player. Whenever Stuffy Doll is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to chosen player. Okay, and then you can tap Stuffy Doll to deal 1 damage to itself. Very dope. Brash Taunter fights other creatures. Very dope. But yeah, I get that. That makes sense. That makes sense to me. You could also do some weird combos. Yep. Timna 11 would be so good. Just Value Town. Well, aren't we all lucky that that's not a pairing we can do? But I understand, Mateus. I think that, that would be really good, wouldn't it? Do you think each character fits the colors they're associated with? That's a good question. I think that Jim as Boros just as easy. I don't know. I think he's not really like, he's a good guy. He's not chaotic. I think I would kind of associate Red with a little bit of chaos. I would say he's sort of on point there. Dustin, yes, because he is like a gadgeteer. He's the gadget kid in the show. If you haven't watched the show, there's a lot. I'm not going to spoil any more of the show. But yeah, he likes gadgets. This makes sense. I think Azorius is white, puts him in the sort of tinkering realm. I think blue makes sense. You kind of control your environment, right? 11 as Grixis. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think 11 as a Grixis character makes sense to me. Lucas is it sharpshooter? Yeah, I don't know about blue. Red maybe. I don't know about blue though. But no, yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts if you guys think these are all on point so far as their color pairings are concerned. Let me see here. Boros Reckoner also works with Guilty Conscience. Boros Reckoner also works with Guilty Conscience. Boros Reckoner. We can look at that really quick. Obviously, this isn't necessarily something we're going to be doing, but is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target creature or player. Yeah, for sure. And this is like a modern set, which is... Okay, cool. All right, Max the Daredevil. You definitely say Jim is chaotic? Yeah, he loses his shit with 11. But like, dad chaos. He's dad chaotic. I think of the majority of artificers are Azorius, so it makes sense. Yeah. He gets quite angry. I agree. Max and Lucas colors should have been swapped, in your opinion. And Max is in Gruul, so I think that's a perfect time to swing on over to Max. I love the art here, though. The arcade, the Palace arcade setting in the background is very dope. But one generic Gruul, 3/2 body, legendary creature, human. I love... Max is very self-sufficient. I actually really like this card. I actually am a huge just fan of Gruul in general. Like, I really love playing for Gruul strategy, so of course I was going to like Max's character. But haste, whenever you cast your second spell each turn... So this is kind of cool. You can use this off turn, or functionally this will work off turn. There aren't that many things you're going to be doing off turn in Gruul, speaking from experience. But untap target creature, then investigate. So what's nice about this is you get to do the draw thing, right? She's only 3 CMC, so she's pretty low on the casting totem pole. She's hasty, so you can immediately... Let's just say that Max was your character this turn. You can play Max, haste enabled, attack with her, do 3 damage worth of something to someone. And then if you cast another spell after this, you can untap her, have an amazing blocker who will trade up in most cases, and get a token out of the equation. She's actually pretty good in my mind. Are there any sort of combos you can use? And just because combo doesn't necessarily mean infinite combo, I think we immediately gravitate towards that. Are there any things that she can synergy with or work well with? Yes, in these colors, it's just a good way to untap genuinely, like the Bloom Tender or any of the mass tap creatures, like the bigger dorks that you might have. Obviously, the ability to untap a creature also provides you the opportunity to do, as I mentioned just a second ago, if you just use like a Thrill of Possibility into, I don't know, Pyretic Ritual, whatever you're using off turn, it gives you the opportunity to get a defender on the battlefield, right? Something to defend with, or just untap something of value off turn that you could be utilizing. And this can also help you set up any sort of combo creatures you might have in the list, like a Seeker of Skybreak. If this is in the list and there's some sort of mass untap strategy, maybe with someone like Mike, that's also going to give you the utility to do that. It puts you in good colors. Green is pretty potent. Red, we've obviously talked about quite a bit already. It's the color of Dockside and Underworld Breach, so if you enjoy those things, it's clearly good. I like Max a lot. I'm personally thinking of building a list for Max and Will. It puts us in 4 colors, and Will is pretty damn good, and we'll talk about Will in just a second. But no, there's nothing like infinite or super capable with Max. She's just good value. Is she better than any of these other legendaries? I would put her a cut above. I think her effects are really cool, especially in Gruul. Untapping a target creature is pretty hugely beneficial. But yeah, let's see what you guys think. Off topic, but are there any good green and red enchantments that make all your creatures on the battlefield indestructible? Not off the top of my head that I know. I don't think that indestructibility is something that I commonly think of. White is generally what I think of for that, and then it's just instant speed stuff or sorcery speed stuff. I can't think of any enchantments that do that, any sort of like anthems that would do that, but I'm sure there is something. In green and red, not entirely certain though. Lucas could have been Rakdos too. He's pretty aggro. Maybe. I could see Lucas in Rakdos. I just don't see blue for him. I don't know why. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of, like, I don't know. When I think of blue, I think of, like, technological stuff. And I guess, like, because Dustin is super tech savvy, they all use walkie-talkies, but that's not really an excuse enough. I don't know. I'm sure that they had a good reason to go Izzet instead. Maybe it's just to give more blue to the set, but that's just how it wound up. Again, is it the most logical? I can't really say, but that's interesting. Someone said that he should have been Azorius. Someone said that he should be Rakdos. But yeah, any more thoughts on Max the Daredevil? WotC and Hasbro wouldn't want to deal with that possibility. Yeah. This card does so much. I'm really most intrigued by Max. Hamahimana. Yeah, I agree. I think that she just does a lot of stuff, and she does it with immediacy. I think that's the thing I like about Max the most, is the fact that she has haste. Like over Jim, over Lucas, over Dustin, she's doing stuff. And even 11, right? 11's in a really good part of the color pie, but at least Max does stuff on the cast, so she is of value immediately. Let me see here. Anything with cheap buyback work? She goes well with Dustin. Untap him and crack a clue, leaving him open to block maybe. And yeah, he's a 2/3, so that is absolutely true. And this is actually putting you, you're just sans black, right? So you're in 4 colors here. That's actually not a bad idea, right? Max and Dustin, obviously they synergy well just by themselves, but I mean, Jim, in most cases, it can probably get you more investigations, which makes sense for his character, so that's fair. But at least Max is getting there, like, immediately. I say immediately, but herself with anything else, you're going to do it. Like, just save your Lotus Petal cast for, like, after you've cast Max, right? And then you get to do the thing. Let me see here. None of these characters would make sense as black anyway, other than 11, but she is. Yeah. They have no black qualities. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of reserved for the Mind Flayer, right? Like the evil monster of the set. And Will, I mean, we can talk about Will in a second, but he has been touched by the Upside Down. So maybe that's like where they're coming from for Will, but we'll get to Will when we get to Will, I guess. But yeah, he's probably one of my favorites. He is my favorite from the set, personally speaking. Human Tribal coming for the Pirates. Eldrazi Monument. Max and Brash Taunter. And Brash Taunter with Max. Yeah, actually, that's kind of dope. The Wrist Rocket is a marvel of engineering. I love being possessed, and I like having his white and black side. The perfect yin and yang. Yeah, the flavor is mwah, chef's kiss. We're, of course, speaking of Will. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, chef's kiss. I got you. All right. Jeff's kiss. Okay, I think we're moving on. And by the way, if you're watching this after the fact, give this a good 24 hours and then you'll see the commentary as it pops up on the side of the screen, so you're not just like, what is this guy looking at? All right, Mike, the Dungeon Master. The Dungeon Master. Celestia, +1 generic, 2/2 body, legendary creature, human. Got the Demigorgon over there. A friend is someone you'd do anything for. Pay 2, tap. And this guy, this kid, he's going to bring shit back from the grave. That's what he does for his friends. Choose target creature card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Return it to the battlefield tapped. Now, is this good? Well, I don't know. Let me see. What do we have? Let's look at some stuff. So the first thing that came to mind for me, it's really, there's a number of creatures that do this, right? But what about Village Bellringer? Village Bellringer, what's this? Oh, let me see this. Flash, Human Scout, 1/4 body. When Village Bellringer enters the battlefield, untap all creatures you control. Okay. Yeah, that seems okay. Seems okay. So, let's just say that we have like a blasting station also on the battlefield, right? Because Mike's giving us the colors, right? We can cast a Village Bellringer. We can cast a blasting station. And Blasting Station, whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you may untap Blasting Station. We can sacrifice creatures and deal 1 damage to target player. That's cool. There are any number of things that do this, like Goblin Bombardment. There are a ton of things. Just Impact Tremors with a sack outlet is going to do the same thing. So you can sort of pick the synergy you want. But how do we keep paying for Mike's effects, Pat? You need to pay too, right? So like, I get what you're trying to go at. Like Village Bellringer untaps all the creatures. What other creatures? I don't know. We're in green. Like any other creature that's going to generate the mana to do the thing with Mike, right? So it's kind of cool that you've got a really valid combo mander for 3 CMC, right? So anything that's going to, it doesn't matter that the creature enters tapped in most cases, right? Return it to the battlefield's tap, provided that that creature is doing something of value for you, right? So let's just pretend that we had a scenario where, you know, so we can even do like maybe a dockside loop with this guy. Let's try to hash this out. Generally speaking, you want a mass untapper to help, right? So it could be Great Oak Guardian in just Mike's colors. It could be the Village Bellringer, which is far more practical. But what's nice about something like Great Oak Guardian is the fact that we have things like Natural Order to just put Great Oak Guardian on the battlefield. When it enters the battlefield, creatures target player controls, you get +2/+2, untap them. Right? So in this instance, this is kind of a win in and of itself. So if you just had Bloom Tender, right? Bloom Tender, for each color among permanents you control, Mike is 2. For each color, add 1 mana of that color to your mana pool. Sweet. So Bloom Tender, Mike, the Great Oak Guardian, why the hell not? Provided these creatures aren't summoning sick, right? I mean, you are tapping Mike to do the thing. They become infinitely powerful and you can just swing out and kill everyone, right? In an ideal situation. There may be too many blockers for you to do that. But that's why you kind of want to accommodate this general strategy with having sack outlets that just do the job for you, because you ultimately need to put these creatures in the bin to do the thing, right? So again, something like Goblin Bombardment. I mentioned this. You would need to put yourself in red for this, but sacrifice a creature, it deals 1 damage to any target. There are obviously lines of play for Mike. This is a really cool combo commander. This is probably going to be the most fun to leverage. Selesnya, if you've ever played Selesnya, doesn't have very many good finishers. However, because this is a partner commander, a friend forever, you can give yourself the colors necessary to make this strategy work. Now, obviously, pairing Mike with 11, the most utility you're going to get out of this is, I don't know, you're going to do... It's just going to be ramp, right? Like, if you're in those colors, you're going to be like, I'm going to do Culling Ritual on my Dockside Extortionist. I'm sorry, this is how I imagine 5-color players speak. Culling Ritual on the Dockside Extortionist. I'm going to have 4 black mana. Use 2 of that to tap Mike to bring back Dockside Extortionist again. I'm going to make 7 treasures, blah. You're just going to use it for the base reanimation on some simple targets, right? Or maybe you've had a good reanimate target die. Mike will get that thing back. Mike is good. What I'm getting at is Mike is like a 5 out of 5. It's pretty good. Now, mind you, the one caveat is the thing needs to have left the battlefield that turn. But you're going to set that up for yourself, right? You're going to do that with the sack outlet, or you're going to do that with the as additional cost sacrifice, anything to just do that for yourself. What's also cool is that this works at instant speed. So provided the thing happened off turn, you can still, provided you have 2 mana, tap Mike to do the thing. So he's just really good is what I'm getting at. I think being 2/2, being squishy like that is kind of a detriment, but it's still fine. And anyway. Bellringer plus Altar that gives you 2. Yeah, Ashnod's Altar, right? But mind you, you then need you can even just have pingers. Like you could literally just have bodies that ping provided you do the Village Bell Ringer thing, right? So if it was Ashnod's Altar, as is being suggested, Ashnod's Altar allows you to sacrifice a creature to get 2 generic mana, right? So you would do that with Village Bell Ringer, you do that with Great Oak Guardian. Again, just deferring to Mike's colors here. And that untaps all your things, and then provided you have pingers or something that will affect your opponents, you are in a very good state. There's just a lot of combo lines you can assemble with Mike. Are those the most efficient? I can't really say. I would probably rely on creature-based combos, though, because you are in green and you have the most tutors in green for creatures. Anyway. And also, someone suggesting Intruder Alarm. Yeah. So creatures don't untap during their controller's untap step. Whenever a creature comes into play, untap all creatures. This is doing the same thing that the Bell Ringer and Great Oak Guardian do. You would just need to incorporate a friend that is in blue, right? So you have 11, you have Dustin, you have Lucas, and those are the friends that are in blue. So provided you use any one of them, you're in a good spot, right? And it's kind of cool because you can actually use Lucas to kill your own thing, right? Target creature. Again, you need to... Oh, you know, if your creature was an artifact, actually, you can sacrifice it to Lucas just as part of the effect. But if it had 1 defense or was on its last leg, you can also shoot it down and bring it back with Mike, which is kind of cool, right? So you can sort of like make a bad block, get it back, do a thing with it, provided it had a thing to do. There's stuff to do, is what I'm saying. Priest of Titania, elf mana. Yeah, for sure. Like if your Priest of Titania was out and someone had an Arbor Elf, right? If you guys don't know this card, Priest of Titania will generate 1 green for every elf on the battlefield, not just yours. So that's not bad. I guess one could argue that Max could be black also, based on her character. But yeah, I wouldn't say you can't really make Lucas or Dustin black, like maybe Mike. Yeah, it's very you got to be as PC as possible, I feel, when you're dealing with a game like this. I mean, we all are conscious of the error that occurred with Will's card. Like how that got past R&D is pretty crazy to me. And I obviously spoofed that in the thumbnail here, but just, you gotta be a little more conscientious about how people interpret your game, obviously, without, you know, to try to avoid any finger wagging, but if that's what we're referring to here. The Wooberg player voice is great. Thank you. Yansuhai. I feel it's accurate too. I play against a lot of 4 and 5 colored players. I'm doing Max and 11. Then maybe another pair. I do like Mike's ability though. I think Mike's ability is just like, it's just cuckoo bananas. Right? Wish it didn't have to be from the battlefield. Yes. And specifically for Mike, just so that you can entomb and Protean Hulk, right? So that's kind of a cool strategy. I get what you're trying to drive at there. It is relying on the thing coming from the battlefield, though. Again, though, this is such a really good backup line for any sort of reanimate target that you did rely on. It's really not that bad. I'm planning on building Lucas and Max, but I don't think I can get the secret lair. Is this like a location thing, or you're just ill-interested? I would just take the art and proxy it then. Like if your local group doesn't care, at least you can play with the cards. But I would just do that if it's problematic or you just don't want to spend the money. I think that makes sense. But damn, I really want to know what the bonus card would be. Oh yes, this is true. That's sort of like not a ploy or something they do with the secret lair. It's kind of just a fun bonus. If you guys have never purchased a secret lair, there's generally the ones I purchased early on had like stained glass versions of different planeswalkers. Those were fun, but there's usually just some sort of added value card. I mean, it really is like a good 5 or 10 cents. I wonder what the numbers are. Like, how much does it cost for them to print that piece of cardboard? But it's another thing that you just get for free. So that's kind of cool. But moving on from Mike, I think Mike is pretty damn good though. Let's cover Will first. Just ignore the Mind Flayer. It's kind of tragic. Just money-wise, Mike plus Evoke looks interesting. Yes. Oh my God, you're so right. What is is it Solitude? What are the creatures? Yeah, okay. So like any Evoker, it doesn't have to be Solitude or Grief is the black one. He's in Celestia. At any rate, when it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target creature. That creature's controller gains life equal to its power. So it's STP, right? You can exile a white card from your hand to do this, but it's entered in the battlefield And then as a part of its evoke cost, if it was evoked, it dies, right? You sacrifice it after it enters the battlefield. But what is being stated here by Dual Commander PH is that you could just use Mike to bring Solitude back, which is pretty gas. I really like... You're absolutely right. I think Evokers with Mike would be pretty dope. This is just the first one to come to mind, but obviously, pending your color pairings, this is a new one for Modern Horizons 2, but pending your color pairings, you can put whatever the hell Evokers you want. That's actually a really sick idea. That's just a dope idea. I love this idea a lot, because you just double dip on whatever that effect is, right, for 2 generic, which is easy to accommodate, right? All right. Winona Ryder as the promo. Yes. She's wonderful in this show. Again, she's a good reason to watch the first season. She's brilliant. I love her performance in the first season of Stranger Things. Super, super genuine. Very enjoyable watch, though. Just notice Mike doesn't say choose, which does get around some grave hate. Yeah, that's a fact. That's true. It's pretty nice. So like they might be trying to contend with whatever you lost this turn, and you could just pick a different target creature. It does say target creature, actually. Just notice Mike says choose. No, I think we do have to choose a target, unfortunately. Got me a little excited there. Not that Mike would be surviving a blasphemous act or anything. But anyway, just Revel Arc with Mike would be interesting. I forget how Revel Arc is spelled. Is it like this? Revel Arc? Oh my god. These made up names. Lark? There we go. Whenever he leaves the battlefield, return up to 2 target creature cards with power of 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Evoke, right? And this is another evoker. You also have Vesper Lark. It has to be a power of 1 or less. But yeah, I bet you there are combos that you can sort of whip out with those two. I mean, Revel Arc already has combos in and of itself, so there's something clearly there. But yeah, totally good. Wizard said they would reprint these cards and the universe characters. Yes, they will. I just don't know what those characters are. Do you guys think they would change Friends Forever to Partner? And no, or would it just be no? I think they would use a new. Keyword, Cosmic Conical, and someone else can weigh in on this. But Friends Forever, it's coming out in New Capenna, right? Like the characters themselves, I believe that was what was stated would be the universe that these cards, their parallels, will exist in. If it's like mob families, I'm assuming it would just be called family, and then the name of said mob, right? So like this mob X family can pair with any other family members in that mob. To my understanding, it's like Sopranos meets MTG in a future setting. Something like that. I could be dead wrong though. But I would imagine that's how they would take it. Thank you, Thrymer. I think 11 makes Triska Defile playable. She does. I think any sort of card quality effect is really going to put you over the edge too, right? And Sensei's Divining Top is really good in these instances as well, right? Because it's just good value. Like Sensei's Divining Top is going to help you get the draw you want with 11, and then ultimately you can just pop Sensei's Divining Top to put you over the card count necessary, right? While you're checking, or before rather you would check. Family. I think it would just be called like Mob Family. I mean, Friends Forever is pretty cheesy already, but yeah. Yeah, I think it makes sense. I don't know what else they would call it, though. I certainly don't think they would call it Friends Forever still, though. I think very much like Walkers were a parallel to Zombies, they would change Friends Forever for sure. But again, it's just a better version of Partners With, because you just have more options. Will the Wise. Orzhov, human, 1/2 body, legendary creature. Welcome home, kid. Welcome home. When Will the Wise enters or leaves the battlefield, each opponent may investigate. I know it sounds bad. Each opponent who doesn't loses 1 life. That's the ringer. You investigate X times, where X is 1 plus the number of opponents who investigated this way. So the tricky bit with Will, and what I think it can almost read like a group hug kind of commander, because you're giving people value, right? As we understand, clues allow you to sacrifice said artifact and draw a card. But if you are capable of casting Will infinitely, and you may do so in a myriad of different ways, and or just blinking Will, like Cloudstone, Curio, Allurin, there are a number of setups that will just let you cast and recast Will. The issue with this is your opponents, at the best case scenario is you do this with infinite mana, and I'll explain why in a second. But if you're able to cast Will infinitely, your opponents will likely say, I'm going to investigate, I'm going to investigate, I'm going to investigate. And then you will get 3+1 tokens, right? You get a lot of artifacts. Obviously, these artifacts can play into different strategies. I've mentioned Grinding Station earlier, Underworld Breach, Best Friends, right? You want artifacts to do the thing to build the pile. However, at a certain point, if you had infinite mana and did this, with infinite mana and all the clues in the world, you draw your deck. And you will hopefully have a win. I don't know. Slam a Walking Ballista. You're an Orzhov. Maybe you're on some sub-Heliod Walking Ballista strategy. You just have Walking Ballista now in your whole hand. Cast Silence. Do whatever you need to do. Give yourself the protection necessary to just go off, right? And also, if they understand that, they could just lose one life and lose the game that way instead. It's a win-win on Will, provided you're able to do it infinitely. So, personally speaking, I don't think you go for Will unless you're doing the thing. You have the setup. You have infinite colored mana. You have the setup for Will. You cast Will infinite times. You do the thing. It's just an outlet in the command zone that pairs with any one of these other value manders. Now, I like Max here because it puts you in 4 colors. Do I think that Max is the most logical or best pairing? Maybe not, but it's the one I want to do, and she's actually very easy to get to. And again, she's putting you in 4 colors. So you're going to have a lot of good stuff to just work with leading into your infinite turns with Will. And this could very easily be, in this scenario, MEL Dockside. We were just talking about Dockside. That is infinite mana, right? Via treasures. And then Will the Wise is going to leverage the shit out of all of that stuff, right? Because it doesn't matter if you're casting Will, it just needs to enter or leave. And if you've not seen MEL, maybe I'm speaking foreign, it's a unicorn that allows you to blink a creature. So exile another target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So once you've done that, and you need, if you're doing the math, with Dockside Extortionist, you need to generate at least 4 treasures to go infinite. Dockside Extortionist, ETBs, you get treasures for every artifact or enchantment. Very easy setup. You are in the colors to pull these creatures out. Hell, it's very simple strategy is what I'm getting at. But that would be something you could just bake into the list, and then once you're ready, cast Will. And this way you don't really need to think about alternative solutions, right? Have one, but Will is that solution in most cases. I like Will a whole lot. I think just having it as an outlet in 2 colors is amazing. It's just easy. It's just super easy. And obviously, you know, giving your opponents these artifacts could be detrimental. Maybe they're able to crack one of the clues and do a thing to thwart you. But if they just let you go off with MEL Dockside, there's no hope for them. I don't think there's any hope for them. Especially because you also have clues to crack and just say, okay, you're gonna what? I'll crack a clue. Let me find a solution. Stop you. Deflecting SWAT, you just redirect it this way instead. You get what I'm driving at. Will, it seems pretty damn good in my book. All right. Family forever. That's what it's going to be. That's a fun effect. It's kind of a thing I love to play. Yeah. Will plus Academy Manufacturer again. Oh, you're all about the Academy Manufacturer today. If you guys don't know, we looked at it earlier, but if you would generate a food, treasure, or clue, you generate one of each. Why not? Why not? Go ham. Just go ham. And again, is there an artifact crusher? Is there something that eats artifacts and makes colored mana? Like KCI eats artifacts, makes generic mana. That's not going to do the thing. But that would be kind of cool if there was a way you can sort of devise a strategy around doing that. But there's tons of infinite mana strategies in the world of Commander. I just named 1 2-card combo. Just pick your flavor. Cast Will, right? Okay. Will Lucas makes a 4-color Luris possible. So, okay. It does. So if you guys don't know Luris, Companion is generally not a keyword very often played for, especially because after it was nerfed, it costs 3 to put these things in your hand, right? So If this card is your chosen companion, you may put it into your hand from outside the game for any time you could cast a sorcery. So it's basically saying you have a Grim Tutor for the specific thing, with the caveat that each permanent card in your starting deck has a mana value of 2 or less. So you are in 4 colors with Will, Lucas, and Luris. And Luris says, lifelink 3/2 body. During each of your turns, you may cast 1 permanent spell with a converted mana cost of 2 or less from your graveyard. Obviously very good, right? Now we just need to consider the loops or strategies we can reliably get to sub 2 CMC. And to be perfectly honest, this might be better than 11, just having Lucas and Will together with Luris in tandem, because most of the stuff you're going to be wanting to do, like the Thassa's Oracle, the Underworld Breach, most of the definite strategies that are played for, at least in a competitive setting, are 2 CMC and under. Obviously, this will omit things like Necropotence, things like Ad Nauseam. You are shutting yourself off from a few things. But Luris as a companion is kind of cool in 4 colors because there are a lot of really great reanimate strategies that you can rely on, like the Leonin Relic Warder Loops of the World with Animate Dead. And this gives you the opportunity to cast those things provided you failed just by using this companion. You know, obviously you need to play for the companion effect, but just for having this as a companion, you just get this as value. So technically you have 101 cards to play with. That's kind of cool. I don't know if that's something I'm personally going to do, but that is a cool suggestion and is something you can do. I like it. Luris is cool. Again, companions aren't generally that often played for. Obviously you guys have seen Rebel play on the show before, and she uses Gigantha and Sisay. And that is a very logical pairing. You are omitting certain staple cards, but it's a 1-2 punch. It makes total sense. Okay. Woo! Thermopod, you say. The tokens with Chatterfang too. Come on. You totally could. Why Emiel over Eldrazi Displacer? Jacob, Eldrazi Displacer requires that you use like waste mana, like the actual colorless symbol mana. If you guys don't know what Eldrazi Displacer is, it's a white creature that, again, 2 generic and a colorless. Exile, and this tells you it right here. Exile another target creature, then return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Treasures don't generate colorless mana. They produce 1 mana of any color. So you couldn't use Dockside Extortion. And if you've done this, then you've definitely outwitted your friends or just cheated them, which is fine. Just don't do it again. But Dockside Extortionist Eldrazi Displacer won't work to functionally do the thing. Unless you've made infinite generic mana, right? If you've made infinite generic mana, colorless mana, excuse me, you could do the thing there, right? You could do that. Do both. It doesn't really matter. I'm just saying that if you had the treasures, you have more options by way of color, right? So that when you do crack your clues, because what it'll ultimately devolve to, people won't elect to just lose all their life. They're going to investigate with you. And when they do, having infinite generic is a step below having infinite everything, right? Because when I crack my clues, I'm able to cast anything. Here, I'm limited to whatever. But in the scenario I popped up with Walking Ballista, you can do the same thing. You do need to generate the generic, though. So Dockside Extortionist wouldn't be a thing. Hope that helps. Does that make sense? Am I crazy? Maybe I'm wrong here. Pretty sure I'm not. But Thermopod, sacrifice a creature, add red mana. You could also do this as well. There are strategies for a Thermopod. My brother uses that damn unicorn. So annoying, but she's so good. Yeah. Why Emiel over? Yeah, we talked about this. You can still add Naz. With Luris? Is Luris permanence? I'm sorry. Luris is permanence, right? Thank you. Yeah. So you're not hampering yourself that much, right? I'm curious as to if anyone is doing a Lucas Will build, if they have done one with Luris in tote as a companion. Feel free to leave it in the comment section after this video lets out. I'd be curious to share that with people. I'd be interested to see how that functions. But thank you. It's permanence, 2 CMC and under. Thank God, right? Okay. I thought you couldn't use Luris if your commander was greater than 2 CMC. No. Lucas and Will are both 2. Lucas, they're both 2. Yep, thank you. By the way, Lewis says permanent spells. Thank you, guys! We got it. I made a mistake. Okay? Do you want me to say that? No, you're right. It's permanence, Lewis. I don't ever use it. I think I might have preemptively said that. But you're right. It's definitely permanence. Bruneclad would be good with Will. Brutaclad? It's Brutaclad? I think it's Brutaclad. He said Max and Will. Did I say Max and Will? Did he say Max and Will? Or did someone say Max and Will? It couldn't have been me. As we've established, I don't make mistakes. Couldn't have been me. But no, Lewis with Lucas and Will. Mind Flayer. Okay, so this is the good one. I wanted to save the best for last. 4 generic, triple black, 9/9 body. Oh my god. Legendary, enchantment, creature, horror. All of the keywords. Mind Flayer, the shadow, isn't a creature unless you control 3 or more permanents you don't own. That's kind of a cool thing. At the beginning of your end step, exile the bottom card of each opponent's library face down. For as long as those cards remain exiled, you may look at them. You may cast permanent spells from among them. And you may spend mana as though it were any mana of any color to cast those spells. I think for 7 mana, I want to say we can do better. At least in the command zone. It's kind of a shame because Mind Flayer, I feel like we were all... I definitely let out a community poll when this was spoiled initially, when they were mentioning that they're going to do the Stranger Things set. I feel like we were all pretty hyped for a Mind Flayer card, but I'm not certain that this is great. And don't get me wrong, like it does a thing as soon as you put it on the battlefield. It starts exiling opponents' decks. You get to functionally play with their deck. Whether that is of use to you is questionable. But it kind of sucks because you can only cast permanent spells from among them. For 7 mana, I feel like you should just be able to cast those things. It just doesn't feel like it's doing enough. Am I wrong? Does this feel like it's doing enough for you? It's certainly not a commander. I don't think you should consider this as a commander at all. Mono Black already has a lot of hiccups. This kind of subverts them, but you do need to cast this thing for 7. It's just okay. And the other big issue is like, yeah, you have this really cool big beater that doesn't have any form of evasion or trample or anything to just do the 9 damage. It's just, it doesn't even have reach. It's like, it's a giant monster. It's so vanilla. It's just so okay. I wish it was cast spells, any spell, and better, just better. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. You got a Mind Flayer build that's insane? Let me know. I got enough Lures and Legacy and Vintage. Fair enough. Copy that. MEL over Displacer because it requires less moving parts. Yeah, I don't know if there's a Displacer combo that's simpler, right? I'm sure there's a fine Displacer combo, right? That would utilize like KCI or something that would produce generic mana like Ashnod's Altar. There's got to be some Displacer combo, but I'm not certain what that is. And it will probably require more moving parts. You're right there. Have you ever considered running Dargo over Rograk for your Turbo Naz brew? No. The important aspect, I don't think people realize the linchpin to that strategy is Rograk. The fact that you have access to a legendary creature with immediacy. I mean, it turns on so many things that you just don't like. I honestly think Jessica's Will, I don't like running that card often, and I generally only run it in that list because having Jessica's Will active with immediacy is brilliant, right? Getting 7 red mana, doing amazing things, turn 1. Rograk is key. Rograk is so essential, especially because Rograk paired with Tevesh is just a really good pairing. Although I could see an argument made for Dargo as well, and that's certainly something you could try. But it won't be as proactive with Dargo. personally speaking. At least the build that I've laid out. And obviously you can do other things with that. And that was a complete aside. You should probably check out the Raw Rackets Specialist if you've never played it or have seen it. I think Mind Flayer is definitely better in the 99 like Xanathar and Sen triplets. Yeah, this feels like a reanimate target, and what's nice is that it's a legendary enchantment, so they could have made it indestructible. Like it could have just had more, like the gods, like Heliod being indestructible enchantment only until such and such. They could have just done more for this creature, because it just being 9/9 for 7 that does this is okay. But the random nature of it, and I think it makes sense, but the random nature of it makes it just okay. Because you could literally just be hitting lands and you don't get... This doesn't say play. This doesn't say you may play permanent spells, right? Or play permanent cards. You can't use their lands, right? You can't just gain value unless it's a permanent. So a lot of times you will miss. You're going to miss. It hurts. You probably won't be able to swing with it immediately since it's not a creature until you can... Yeah. It's right. And I'm just like, that's what I'm saying. Like when you can swing with it, you're just going to hit like their Llanowar elf and then you stop. It's really rough. I was thinking send triplets too. You can just look at triplets. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. This turn, that player can't cast spells or activate abilities, and plays with their hand revealed. You may play lands and cast spells from that player's hand this turn. Yeah, it would be cool in send triplets. Obviously, you're in black. You can reanimate this. It could be a good reanimate target there. Helm of the Host could be interesting with Mind Flayer too. So this is like very much a Godo card. At the beginning of combat on your turn, well, that's an issue. It's not a creature. So you're not going to be able to equip this to target creature until it's a creature. Oh, Mind Flayer. Yeah. It's just, it's a flavor thumbs up, like a 45-degree thumbs up flavor win, but it's very bad commander / anything. I would rather reanimate Villas. I would rather reanimate Razakath. If we're just looking at black creatures that you would want to target that obviously have great effect on the game, those are great targets to reanimate in a black list. Mind Flayer is just okay, and that's tragic. Now, personally speaking, the pairings we've already discussed somewhat. I think Lucas and Will is a very cool Lurrus build. Like that's definitely a Lurrus build in the making. Personally speaking, I'm probably going to build... I like Will with Mike because it puts you in the colors necessary to do that loop, right? You can do a couple of reanimate strategies for infinite mana, and Mike just gives you the potential to reanimate a target to get the ball rolling. So that's kind of cute. Although I will state that being in 4 colors with Max and just having Max as a general utility is pretty darn solid. I like Max with Will, personally speaking. I think that's the build I'm going to start with first. Also, Greg Staples' art. I didn't even notice that. Did Greg Staples do all of these? My 2 favorite ones. Greg did my 2 favorite ones, and then Jim Hopper. Good for you, Greg. But yeah, I'm probably going to do Max and Will, personally speaking. I think the MEL Dockside thing is just the easiest thing to accommodate. Obviously, Max has good value just by herself. She's giving you draw utility on the back end with the Investigate if you've cast a second spell on any turn. Oh, that's really cool. Obviously, 11 and Mike is a clear pairing. Do you want to be in 5-color good stuff? Do you want to do it with partners? Do you want to do it with 11 and Mike? Obviously, if you enjoy the show, this is a really cool pairing. But you're in 5 colors with a girl that draws and a thing that reanimates. Again, one of the better utilities. And again, this isn't a draw via clue. This is just a draw. That's pretty good. It's really good. I think it's pretty good, right? Dustin, I wouldn't say that Dustin is a clear front runner by any stretch. Like, I'll make a case for 11 at 4 CMC because she's in Grixis. Dustin is okay. White isn't anyone's favorite color in this game. Hate to say it. And at 4 mana, it's just like, I would say it's a worse Kydel. Like, I think Simic is a better color pairing for that partner, and she can definitely do more in those colors than Dustin does in these colors. But again, if you're going to play for Dustin, I would pick a creature that plays well with the Isochron strategy, right? And I would probably want to put myself in 4 colors, right? So you can go this way. And that's actually, honestly, the only way you get 4 colors. Am I wrong? Or is no. You can do Lucas, or you can do Max, and that might be the right pairing for Dustin. It just gives you more value or more things that you can add to this strategy. I don't think Dustin is someone you're actually going to play out that often or too frequently. Most lists are running the necessary rituals or ramp fast mana to play out the artifacts early game. That Dustin, by the time he hits the field, he's kind of lagged behind to the point where it's not of any real value. Again, I feel like it's the same reason Kydel is not often played. But 11, you just put her with anything. Am I wrong? She's pretty good. She's pretty darn good. I think she's fine with any one of these legendaries. Like, it didn't really require much foresight to choose her. Obviously, in these colors, you're going to want to play for Thassa's Oracle. You're going to play with your 99 more. But again, Will is an outlet, so you can avoid being in 5 colors and pick Will as just an outlet, and then have 11 as just an excellent resource. She's very good. The maximum hand size thing, a little bit of a gimmick, I think, for the most part. But it will trigger eventually. I don't think anyone's really going to play for that, although it's certainly encouraged. But if it happens, and it's good. In these colors, generally speaking, you're running a lot of control magic. So, I mean, instant speed spells, you're probably going to be far lower than 11 most of the time. And that's unfortunate. Chief Jim Hopper, he's okay. Again, like what we were mentioning earlier, like the go wide strategy, the thing you want to do with him, because it says non-token, you're kind of hampered just being in these colors. Like Boros is all about that token generation, and Jim doesn't really get to leverage it the way you want. But this would probably be good in the body. I don't really even think Winota wants to run this. Like, I'm not really sure. Non-token attacking creatures, man, you get a lot of attacking creatures. Jim does need to be there when you do the attack, though, right? If you look at Winota, it puts the creature on the battlefield attacking. You do need to declare Jim as an attacker to do the thing, but I kind of prefer Jim in the body of that than I would as his own commander. But again, he's good because you can pair it with another thing to put you in more colors, so maybe there's a good line of play for Jim. I think generating the tokens is fine, but do bear in mind that these clues do require 2 generic to pop. So again, if you're going to play into this strategy, someone was asking me why I don't run Dockside. I would hate to see a Dockside played against Jim because Jim is just going to be investigating a lot, right? And again, it has the detriment of creating these artifacts. There's pros and cons here, but it has the detriment of creating these artifacts for a Dockside Extortionist to just levy. And that sucks. That kind of sucks. Again, not Tymna in that sense. It's not drawing in the same way as Tymna at all. But Lucas, again, this pairing makes the most sense in my mind. I think Will the Wise and Lucas is a good pairing. I think Max and Lucas also makes good sense too, if you want to play into these two. And the other strategy you guys were mentioning with Max and Dustin, that's fine too. I think that's a clear 1-to-1 because you can use the 2 here to crack the investigation, rather the clues that Max is making. Either way you shake it, there's a lot of really cool partner friend pairings in Stranger Things. And I'm glad we got these characters. Obviously, this is just a tease for what we're getting in New Capenna, right? So if you're a fan of Stranger Things and you want to pick these up, I'm probably going to buy these for myself. And I definitely want to do something with Max and Will. Like, that looks like a fun pairing. I don't know if I would do anything else with these other characters, but I've got friends that might want to play with them. So they're up for grabs. But yeah, let me tune in with you guys and get your thoughts on these before we close this one out. Are there any pairings that you are most excited for? Which legendaries are you going to be building for? And do you imagine picking up the Stranger Things Secret Lair in the next 16 hours? We ran this for a good 2 hours. Thanks for hanging out with me for this one. It was fun to discuss this set with you guys. I say set. Limited secret lair drop. But yeah. It doesn't say play, so you can't get lands. Yeah. Mind Flare. Oh, God. I think we're all off Mind Flare, right? It's pretty bad, right? Maybe use Strionic Resonator to get extra trigger. I don't know. That JD, that's not a bad idea. I think that you're going to want to leverage that trigger. Like, if you spent 7 mana for this legendary enchantment, not very much a creature thing, using something like Strionic Resonator to double the effect of the trigger is going to be good, right? So you're able to get to being a creature that much quicker. Although getting to the Mind Flare in general at 7 mana is really tough unless it is in the 99. So you'll also need a commander that cares about doing that with triggers via Strionic Resonator. Can be pitched to Grief. Dual Commander is right. You may use Grief. Evoke Grief in a Mike build. And just pitch the Mind Flare. What an insult to the main villain of Stranger Things to use it as the evoke cost for Grief. Helm of the Host could be interesting with Mind Flare too. I think we might have mentioned that. It's just not a thing. And Sylvan Library will tutor. I'm thinking 11 and Mike for Esper Sentinel. Yeah. 11 and Mike for Esper Sentinel. And Sylvan Library and Worldly Tutor. But Blake, 11 and Mike for it all. I'm thinking 11 and Mike just for everything, right? I mean, you're in 5 colors. You can't just do whatever you want. Is it possible to build a 5-color Vorthos deck? All the Stranger Things cards and FRFC. When 11 and Mike are the partners, you could totally do a Stranger Things build that we're centered around these characters. And I would love to see a... God, that'd be so cool. I would love to see a Stranger Things deck. That's dope. That's so dope. I mean, I know with certainty that I'm going to want to do some Hobbit tribal shit when Lord of the Rings comes out. Like, I know Samwise. I'm going to be playing Samwise. Best friend forever from any franchise. Definitely doing something with Samwise Gamgee. But I am jumping ahead of WotC's release schedule. But no, I would love to see a Vorthos build for this. It would be so dope. 11 and Mike just joined. 11 Epic Noob. Thanks for joining. 11 Epic Noob. Any relation to our favorite psychic here? Our favorite wizard? And be sure to rewind because you definitely missed a lot of conversation. They might add Lucille without spoiling it last time. They added Lucille without spoiling it last time. There might be something like that in this lair too. Jacob. The Upside Down as a land or an enchantment would be cool. Man, I was thinking, we were talking about it earlier, but we were saying it would be cool if you got a functional reprint of Underworld Breach as the Upside Down. That would just be sick, like Flavor Win. Obviously, don't make it like a black card. Keep Underworld Breach as it is. Don't do like a rebranded or renamed Underworld Breach, but that'd be cool to just have. But obviously, Lucille, holy shit, that is like my favorite piece of equipment in the game of Magic right now. Lucille is it is so good. It just puts Jim Hopper to shame. You're like, oh, this gives it menace, and when I swing, things die, and I'm making creatures too. Oh, it's so good. You're right. I really do hope, Jacob, that they do add in. It just makes Mind Flayer better. Like, if Mind Flayer is in the Upside Down, Mind Flayer has indestructible reach, trample. Like, it just is some dumb shit to make Mind Flayer useful. Cast when Upside Down's in play, Mind Flayer costs 4 generic less. That'd be amazing. Okay, we'll start it now. 11 Epic Noob, thanks. I'm glad. Again, you don't need to listen to me, but if you want to catch wind of the whole conversation, this has been a 2-hour-long video. I did not think we would be able to talk about these cards for that long, but you're so right, Jacob. I do hope that there's a spoil card for us fanatics if we jump into this secret lair. Crossing my fingers for that Underworld Breach too. That would be sick. I love... it's hard to build a red list without thinking about Underworld Breach these days, but it would be cool to have one in the theme of the Upside Down. Oh my God. Anyway, guys, this was a fun episode. I'm going to wrap this one up, though. Eat some dinner. It's kind of late here. But as I do with all these videos, I like to thank our Patreon community and, of course, you, the viewers, for tuning in. And, of course, our YouTube members. Moving into the future, I want you guys to know, for the few that have stayed this whole time, that the 99 is going to be predominantly a streaming service. I enjoy doing these far more than anything else. Obviously, there will be live stream gameplay for Commander still. There will be more set reviews, more deck techs, all of that. I find having these tete-a-tetes is the best way to communicate my thoughts on the game, obviously, and get better solutions to these new legendaries. And obviously, your thoughts on this game are super influential, I feel, for our deck building. So it's so great to have your input on these. But going into the future, live streams and shorts, because I like entertaining you guys. But as always, I'd like to close this out with our end roll here. Thank you to our Patreon community, and thank you, a special thanks to our members of the 99. You guys are the best, and you're what makes all of this possible. And honestly, you guys helped me out so much over these last few months and year, and I really appreciate you. So thank you so much. And as I do with every episode, I like to thank one random lucky patron. And that patron today is P Dizzle. I think you might have come up already, but P, thanks for being a Patreon member. You are among the best, and I'm sure you already knew that. But guys, if you're buying into the Secret Lair, again, I'd love to know your thoughts on which partner pairings you'll be building, and any guesses you might have on any special exclusive Secret Lair card themed after Stranger Things. It'd be dope to get a little something extra in the set. Again, like Lucille, that would be so awesome. And Lucille was my favorite card from the Walking Dead set. Winota Rider promo. That would be amazing. But guys, thanks so much for joining me on this one. Again, my name is Patrick Marlatt, and happy brewing, baby.